Look, artificial intelligence is absolutely everywhere right now. It's dominating the headlines, it's eating up massive chunks of corporate budgets, and it's causing more than a few sleepless nights for leaders who are just terrified of being left behind. Today, we're going to completely demystify enterprise AI implementation in this explainer. We're cutting through all that flashy hype, facing the harsh realities, and letting the data show us exactly how to succeed where so many others are failing.
Here is our game plan. First, we'll explore the trillion-dollar graveyard. Second, why you must start with the problem. Third, the big decision to build, buy, or partner. Fourth, putting people over technology. And finally, we'll map out your AI strategy roadmap.
All right, Section 1, the trillion-dollar graveyard. Let's dive into the shocking reality of enterprise AI. $1.5 trillion. Take a second to let that sink in. By 2025, that is the estimated amount organizations globally poured into artificial intelligence. It's just a mind-boggling amount of capital to deploy in a single year. But, what did all that cash actually buy?
Well, here is the absolute gut punch. By the end of 2025, roughly 90% of those enterprise AI implementations failed to deliver any measurable value. Only 10% succeeded. And we're not talking about falling a little bit short or just needing a few more months to tinker. We mean they completely failed to deliver on their business promise. The vast majority of that massive investment, straight into the graveyard.
And look, this isn't just one pessimistic study. This failure is shockingly consistent across the board. The RAND Corporation found that over 80% of AI projects fail, which, by the way, is double the failure rate of standard IT projects. BCG reported that 60% of companies generated zero material value. And S&P Global, they found that 42% of companies just completely abandoned their AI initiatives. They basically swept those incredibly expensive proofs of concept right under the rug and pretended they never happened. But here is the crucial takeaway. The technology is real, and it absolutely works. The problem is how businesses are systematically misapplying it.
Which brings us to Section 2. Start with the problem. Let's diagnose the root causes of all this failure.
The most fatal flaw happening in boardrooms everywhere right now is starting with incredibly impressive technology and then desperately searching for a problem to solve with it. It's the tail wagging the dog. Companies read about a shiny new model, they panic, and they launch a pilot just so they can say they're using the tech. But the 5% who actually succeed, they do the exact opposite. They start with a severe business pain point. Look, a bank shouldn't build an AI chatbot just for the sake of having one. They should use AI because, say, their mortgage approvals are taking 11 days and they're bleeding clients to faster competitors, right? The framing here is absolutely everything.
But hey, even if you nail the right problem, you're still going to crash and burn if you ignore this critical stat from Gartner. 85% of AI projects fail due to poor or missing data. It's the classic garbage in, garbage out rule. A perfect algorithm that's fed garbage data is just going to produce really fast garbage decisions. Cleaning up your messy, siloed internal spreadsheets is not some quick weekend DIY project. It is a massive, absolute prerequisite for success.
So how do we actually get this right? The source material gives us this brilliant three-question framework. Question 1, what routine work consumes human talent? Seriously, ask yourself where your smartest, most highly paid people are stuck doing repetitive chores. If you're paying a senior analyst a six-figure salary to format documents and reconcile spreadsheets all day, you are totally wasting their brain power. Map those inefficiencies out at the task level and use AI to stop wasting your top talent. Okay, question 2. Where does speed matter more than creativity? See, AI's real superpower usually isn't replacing human creativity, it's getting rid of the speed bottleneck. Think about a pharmaceutical company. AI isn't going to replace the chemist's brilliant aha moment about how to modify a molecule, but it absolutely can replace the months of grueling brute force lab testing needed to see if that idea actually works. Deploy AI wherever human creativity is bogged down by slow mechanical execution. And the final question, what decisions need better data? At its core, AI is an incredible tool for making predictions. If your hospital is scheduling operating rooms based on historical averages and a floor manager's gut feeling, you're making major decisions with highly suboptimal data. An AI system can analyze dozens of variables to predict surgery durations, optimize bed space, and slash cancellations. The decision itself remains the same, but the precision? Totally transformed. Moving right along to Section 3, build, buy, or partner. Let's look at the strategic matrix. So you've identified the right business problem. Now, how do you implement this solution? You basically have three choices: build, buy, or partner. And here is the harsh truth. Building AI entirely from scratch in-house is incredibly risky. Just to give you an idea, healthcare EHR integration alone can run you up to $750,000 per app. Because of that wild complexity, internal builds have a dismal success rate of just around 22%. Now, buying an off-the-shelf solution, that's faster and cheaper, and it succeeds about 55% of the time, but it offers almost zero competitive advantage since anyone can buy it. Partnering, though? Partnering with a specialized firm combines their external machine learning expertise with your proprietary internal data. That hits the sweet spot, succeeding roughly 67% of the time. Honestly, unless the AI capability is your absolute core business advantage, do not fall into the trap of building it from scratch.
Section 4. People over technology. This brings us to the famous 70-20-10 rule.
This rule from Boston Consulting Group is honestly a massive wake-up call. When you break down where the actual value of AI comes from, only 10% is from the algorithms themselves. Another 20% comes from the underlying technology and implementation. But a whopping 70% of the value, that comes from people, processes, and workforce transformation. The organizations that are obsessing over the tech while totally ignoring their people, those are the exact ones ending up in that trillion-dollar graveyard.
Just to compare the failing majority to the top 5% who actually pull this off, the company's BCG calls future built. The laggards only bother upskilling about 20% of their staff, and a measly quarter of their managers actually use AI themselves. But in that top 5%, over half the employees are upskilled. And here's the real kicker: 88% of their managers actively role model AI use every single day in their operations. Because when managers actually use AI daily, employees start seeing it as a really helpful tool instead of this looming threat to their jobs. AI transformation is, at its heart, workforce transformation.
But, part of empowering your people is knowing when to pump the brakes. Knowing when to say no to AI is honestly just as crucial as saying yes. You should absolutely hold off if the problem is poorly defined, if you don't have relevant training data, or if your processes change so fast that a model just couldn't keep up. Oh, and if the cost of being wrong is super high, like making a final medical diagnosis or a legal judgment, AI should never, ever operate without serious human oversight. Think of it as a really powerful recommendation engine, not an absolute authority. Finally, Section 5, your AI strategy roadmap. Let's get you on the path to that top 5%. Let's quickly march through this actionable roadmap. Phase 1, diagnose. Get in there, map out your high-volume tasks, and seriously audit your data infrastructure. Phase 2, prioritize. Pick a maximum of 3 use cases for your first year. Seriously, max 3. Trying to juggle dozens of flashy pilots is exactly how the 95% fail. Phase 3, validate. Run controlled experiments that measure actual business outcomes, not just how pretty the demo looks. Phase 4, scale. Roll it out, but back it up with heavy change management. And Phase 5, transform. Redesign your entire organizational structure and your workflows around these newly proven capabilities. We're going to wrap up this explainer with a really powerful thought from the source material. AI will not transform your business by itself. Only you can do that. The 5% of companies that succeed don't magically have better AI models than everyone else. They just have a much better strategy. They focus relentlessly on real business problems, they treat their data as a non-negotiable foundation, and they invest deeply in their people. So before you launch your next big project, ask yourself, are you actually solving a real business problem, or are you just buying a very, very expensive plot in the trillion-dollar graveyard?